We're joined by Adam Rubin, ESPN New York Mets beat writer with a lot of layers here. Good morning, Adam. Thanks for a few minutes here in Albany. We appreciate it.
Well, my pleasure, Rodger. Good to talk to you.
Always a pleasure. And let's start with the news yesterday on Matt Harvey. Not surprised. I knew when he was heading to see the vascular specialist in St. Louis, the news might not be good, and it's not. He has the two options that we just went over with our listeners here, the surgery now or the nerve block, and then he would be able to perhaps continue with the rest of this season. How do you see this one playing out, Adam, and when do you think Matt will make a decision?
Well, when Sandy Alderson, the general manager, spoke to us yesterday, he said he hadn't actually spoken to Matt yet, so he didn't know firmly, but the Mets portrayed it as likely that the surgery made the most sense now because the nerve block, if it worked, and there's no guarantee it would work, merely defers the surgery. It doesn't eliminate the need for the surgery. And if you wait until October, November, whatever, if the Mets go deep into the playoffs to have the surgery, it would impact potentially 2017 because there's a 4-month recovery time to pitching from the surgery. And there's no guarantee Matt Harvey's going to be the same pitcher after the surgery, but it's definitely needed.
No, there's no question. Either way, no matter what option, obviously the first option, surgery now, but no matter what, even if he chooses option B, he's going to need the surgery. What option do you think he should take? I mean, to me, it would make most sense to get this out of the way, do the surgery now, and then try to get back for the entire season next year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we don't know how long this season he's been dealing with it. He only brought it up to the Mets after his last start when he said he lost some feeling in his arm and fingers. But if it hadn't been bothering him the whole season, it doesn't explain his struggles this season. So to prolong a season that hasn't been going splendidly anyway doesn't seem to make too much sense, especially in light of the fact that it could jeopardize next season as well.
Adam, what about let's assume that he has the surgery done for the year. To me, this Mets staff is still strong enough to pick up the slack. I mean, it's still a really good starting rotation if they can keep everybody healthy. I know it's a big if. We got a lot of bone spurs going on with this Mets starting rotation and the arms, but I think they have the starting rotation that can still make the playoffs here, maybe make a deep run in the postseason. What are your thoughts if he has the surgery and is done? Remember, he's 4-10 right now.
Yeah, I mean, he is the number 5 starter right now. At least it's just base ranked on ability this year or production this year. So you're losing from that perspective the weakest link in the rotation, at least performance-wise. The Mets' signature is their starting rotation, although it used to be that there were too many pitchers and they didn't know what to do with them. Now they have a lack. Logan Barrett is going to start on Saturday. Terry Collins said the likelihood is he remains in the rotation out of the All-Star break. So certainly it's not the same. He's not the same caliber of pitcher as those other guys. Sandy Alderson said as they get closer to the August 1st trade deadline, they will at least examine what's out there in terms of trades. I don't know if they'll pull the trigger on something. One of the other disappointments is that Zach Wheeler was scheduled to be back around now, but he's had a couple setbacks as he returns from Tommy John surgery. He's not back on a mound yet after receiving a cortisone injection in the elbow last month. So you're talking late August at the earliest for Zach Wheeler, and that's if everything goes smoothly from this point going forward. So there is going to be a period between Harvey, if he has the surgery, and Zach Wheeler's availability where either Logan Barrett's going to start or they're going to have to find someone to plug in. And you alluded to those bone spur issues. In Noah Syndergaard's case, it's really not that big an issue. They said even during the offseason, the bone spur doesn't need to come out. But in Steven Matz's case, that bone spur is going to need to come out. They're trying with anti-inflammatory medication to delay the surgery until the offseason. It looks like that'll be possible. But if he has a setback where it's just not comfortable pitching with that in his elbow, they could be down another pitcher soon too.
Adam, you wrote a column the other day, really powerful, enlightening stuff for ESPN New York. Do you think we will ever see the Mets' Big Five pitching prospects ever together in the same rotation?
Well, the clock is ticking on how long they're all going to be together. Matt Harvey is the first one to hit free agency. That's after the 2018 season. So a while ago, at one point, it seemed like that was such a distant thing. Now it's only 2 more seasons, and he's going to leave if they don't trade him beforehand. And obviously these injuries and everything makes it less likely that they're going to trade him because they're not going to get the kind of value that they would have wanted. So there is a 2-year window. Even if Matt Harvey has the surgery now, there is a 2-year window. But just the way everyone's had injuries, you just wonder if they're all going to pitch at one point, like a 5-turn rotation where all these guys are actually going to pitch at the same point. If I were betting, I don't know which way I would go. I guess early next year, there's the possibility that everyone's healthy and they have that 5-man rotation out of spring training or whatever. But it's been a couple of years where they've all been ready to be at the major league level, and yet you haven't seen them all together at the same time.
Adam, I want to get to the controversy last night in the game, but one more on the pitching. Syndergaard will pitch tonight at Citi Field in Game 2 against the Nats. Is Terry Collins still considering throwing him or starting him in the All-Star game next week in San Diego?
Yeah, I mean, Terry knows what he's going to do. He hasn't announced it yet. He said no as a consideration. The funny thing is when the Cubs writers were in town a week ago and they were asking about the candidates to start, Terry listed 5 candidates and Strasburg wasn't one of them. But now since then, Strasburg's come back from the DL. He's 11-0 going into tonight's game. So he's from San Diego. He pitched at San Diego State. So I know there's a groundswell for maybe him to be the guy too. So we'll see what direction Terry goes. But certainly both Strasburg and Syndergaard, who are going to have a fabulous matchup tonight, you would think, are the 2 primary candidates, especially the way Arrieta has kind of tailed off a little bit.
Well, I wouldn't risk it, to be honest with you, with Syndergaard next week, just knowing what's going on with this Mets rotation. But I know it's the All-Star game, and I know Syndergaard's going to want to pitch. But with everything going on and Harvey now and bone spurs, I don't know that I would risk throwing Noah Syndergaard in the All-Star game.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's going to go, though, and he's going to want to pitch. And they have him pitching on Friday today so that he's available to pitch. So it's the days of pitchers going there and then not competing unless they actually withdraw from the game. I think those days are over. So if he's going and he's active, I think he's going to pitch.
All right, controversy last night. What were your thoughts about the Jason Worth called out for a takeout slide at second base that went in favor of the Mets? Dusty Baker not happy about it. Rizzo not happy about it. The GM and a little hallway banter going back and forth with the umpire, Jim Joyce. How did you look at that call?
Well, just backing up for a second, I'm not a big fan of the new rule. I know you want to protect players, but having players called out at first base because there was a late slide into second when it was not going to be a double play, just to me, it just rubs me the wrong way. But if you're looking at the letter of the law, and Terry Collins spoke about after the game, there's 3 things you basically can't do. You can't slide late. You can't slide high, basically, and try to hit the runner, and you have to slide toward the base. And I don't know if Worth did any of those things. So if you're going over the checklist by law, that he was in the wrong on multiple fronts, and it was reviewed. So it wasn't just the umpires on the field who decided this. It was also the people in the video booth somewhere in Manhattan, whatever, who decided that yes, this is not something we're going to overturn and restore, that he was safe at first base. The double play stood. So I don't know that it had that much of an impact on the game anyway. You're still talking about the Nationals facing Jeurys Familia, who's now 31 for 31 in saves with a runner on first base and an out to go if they don't award that double play. So I'm not sure it altered the game, no matter how much the Nationals and their GM protest.
What do we know about the confrontation between Nationals GM Mike Rizzo and umpire Jim Joyce in the hallway after the game?
Well, I was on the Mets side, so I didn't witness it. I just know what I read. But I know Mike Rizzo before at Citi Field, the Nats GM, has gotten into shouting matches with umpires. I remember one in 2011 that ended on there was a late controversial play. I think it was a 1-0 Mets win. So it's kind of in his DNA to kind of shout at umpires after the game. But I think he just basically, from what I read, barked at the umpires that you blew it, and it got a little heated with the umpires, which you're not supposed to do.
Time with Adam Rubin, ESPN New York Mets beat writer, with us here on Big Board Sports 104.5. The team, Adam, your early thoughts on the return of Jose Reyes?
Well, I mean, you have to separate the off-the-field stuff with the baseball stuff. If you want to ask me from a straight baseball perspective, I think, and Terry Collins is convinced he's going to help. Was definitely nervous his first game, went 0 for 4. But you saw signs the second game. He has a couple doubles. He had a home run yesterday. Certainly the speed atop the order is going to help the Mets. They're not a team that manufactures runs, so Jose will help from that perspective. The unfortunate thing is Wilmer Flores, who no matter how much the groundswell support there is from fans, he had not been having an exceptional season. But all of a sudden this week now he has 5 home runs, and he's going to get displaced from the lineup. In fact, he wasn't in the lineup yesterday, but enters on a double switch in the 5th inning and ends up hitting a half inning later a go-ahead 3-run homer. So Wilmer's had a fabulous week. I guess the one unfortunate thing is that Jose's presence kind of displaces him from third base, but it does make the bench stronger. You saw last year with the Mets when Kelly Johnson and Juan Uribe were contributing off the bench, how meaningful that was for the Mets. So to have a hot bat on the bench like Wilmer Flores, assuming he stays this way, certainly can only help the team also.
Well, I tell you what, Flores has been impressive, though. I mean, it's almost like the return of Reyes is little fire under Flores. It started on that Sunday when he had that big game, 6 for 6, and then it's carried over ever since. He's been fun to watch.
Yeah, most definitely. And Wilmer says there's really no correlation between him heating up and Reyes' arrival. Terry Collins isn't so sure. Wilmer, though, when adversity strikes, seems to rise to the occasion. If you remember last year, July 29th, he's traded to the Brewers with Zach Wheeler, and the trade falls through because the Mets medical people didn't like Carlos Gomez's medical report on his hip. And then 2 days later, Wilmer has a 12th inning walk-off home run against the Nationals also that really starts propelling the Mets towards catching the Nationals and winning the division title. So Wilmer's had some big moments when faced with adversity and against the Nationals particularly.
Adam, we'll get you out of here on this. We had Binghamton Mets broadcaster Tim Heyman on earlier this week, and I asked him, how was Reyes in the clubhouse? Did he seem genuine in all the things he was saying? How has he been in that perspective in New York? It seems like he has said all the right things. Do you think he's genuine?
You never know. I believe so. He's, despite what happened, and it was despicable what happened, knowing Jose for 12 years from his first tour of duty with the Mets, when you looked in the clubhouse, he was always the guy smiling, bubbly, a good teammate. It's a weird situation, though, because he's only been removed from the Mets 5 years, and he walks back into a clubhouse, and you think he'd know some people. But other than David Wright, who's here in the clubhouse for the home games but not active, I don't think any of these guys were actually his teammate because there's been such turnover with the Mets. But he seemed like he's blended in very, very smoothly so far. It wasn't an easy decision to call him up when they did on Tuesday. The Mets at the time had a 5-game winning streak. Wilmer was doing well, and yet they inserted Jose at a time when it could have disrupted things and been kind of a controversy. But they kept the winning going, so it's worked out. As I said, the off the field stuff. My personal feeling is that you hate what happened, but he's not banned from baseball for life. So he's going to have to. He deserves to have employment. Now, some team's going to sign him, so you kind of hold your nose and being the team. But if any team, and David Wright said this, if any team was going to sign him, the Mets are the appropriate team because they knew him for 12 years. He was a solid citizen, at least as far as we know, what Sandy Alderson said for 12 years during his first tour with the Mets. So he came to this organization at age 16 until he left in 1999 until he left as a free agent after the 2011 season. So it's really his family in baseball. So sometimes you have to hold your nose a little bit and not like the situation, but you accept it and welcome some back because they're a part of your family.
Adam Rubin, you've been a busy guy here in the last 24 hours with so much going on surrounding the Mets and certainly at the top of that list, Matt Harvey. I'll let you go here, but do you think we'll know by the end of today the two options and what Harvey will decide to do?
Well, they said that he's going to decide in the next couple of days. So we'll know before Sunday. I don't know about today, but we'll know. We should know before the All-Star break.
Very good. Thank you, Adam Rubin. Appreciate it.
Sure.